PRRD nagbigay ng babala sa Parmali regarding sa gusot nila sa di pagbabayad ng buwis. Sounds good mga kasangga. Sinabihan pa niya ang mga ito, pay tax or go to jail. Kilala naman natin ang ating Pangulo. Pag may sinabi, you should comply or hehe. Subalit, may umepal na naman. Itong si Madam Senadora Risa Hontiveros. Hindi daw niya kailangan sabihin ang mga violation ng Parmali dahil talaga naman daw na ipalabas nila ito sa investigasyon ng Senado ng Blue Ribbon Committee. Sabi pa niya, finally, the President stopping defending the Parmali at pati daw mga cronies niya na malamang sa hindi nakinalbang din daw siya sa mga previous transaction ng Parmali. Delikado madam. Mamaya hindi mo mapatunayan yan mga sinasabi mo. Well, mga kasangga. Muli ating tunghayan ng buong detalye ng sabay-sabay. At kapag hindi pa nakapag-subscribe, subscribe na para tuloy-tuloy ang ating talakayan.
Itong sa gobyerno, people working in government have really work that which is very crucial to governance, lalo na ngayon. So yung sila, gipit sa panahon at tinatawag, doon ako nag-object. Wala, sabi ko noon, right at the beginning, bahala kayo kung anong gawin nyo dyan sa Parmali na yan, pero for us who are concerned with the supplies, it was delivered on time, inspected, then paid upon delivery. Nag-flag ang COA, so there was an investigation. Tapos sabi na everything is okay, legal. So hanggang doon lang tayo. Yung mga Parmali dyan na hindi nagbayad, dapat talaga pabayarin yan. Hindi nagbayad ng taxes. For all tayo na for all wicked, those persons there na hindi nagbayad na tax evasion, they can all go to prison. Problema nila yan. Ang aking problema, yung mga tao ko lang sa gobyerno. Kaya doon lang ako nag-object. Yung sabi na pa hindi bumabayad, ay ikulong ninyo yan. May patbus nyo, patayin pa ninyo. Wala kami pakialam. Hindi nagbayad ng taxes, kriminal yan. Di gusto ninyo.
Yan mga kasangga ng ating Pangulo. Walang kinikilingan. Pero ano ba naman itong si Madam Senadora? Ano naman kayang nakain nito? Heto na mga kasangga. Nang tanungin siya ni Madam Karen tungkol kay Inday, hetong sagot niya.
Well, it certainly sounds familiar, Karen. It feels familiar. Parang part 2 ng ginawa ni Presidente noong 2016. So, all denials notwithstanding, abangan ang susunod na kabanata hanggang sa Lunes because 15th November, deadline for substitution, that is the moment of truth, not only for her, but for all of us.
Tungkol naman sa substitutional rules, kung dapat na bang palitan.
I welcome the bill filed by some of my colleagues in the Senate, Karen, mula sa majority pa, seeking an amendment of that provision in the Omnibus Election Code. Palagay ko panahon na i-review nga yung provision iyon so that we will see less of the kind of scenarios that are materializing these days, no? Less of this kind of drama. At kung maisulong nga natin yung isang omnibus election code that is more supportive of behavior on the part of all of us candidates, mga partido natin, developing a genuine political party system supporting the emergence of more real political parties. That would be a scene, Karen, na mas hindi mangyayari yung ganitong klaseng mga maneuvers. Makakatulong lang sa ating political system and it will really advance electoral reforms.
Saglit lang, madam. Hindi kaya nagagamit yung substitutional rule dahil na rin sa mga politikong pag alam nilang malakas ang kalaban nila, kinakalkal na lahat ng pwedeng ikakasira nito. Di ba ganyan naman talagang nangyayari? Sampan na lang natin ngayon, si BBM.
Yung ganyang involuntary provision, mas may checks and balances doon. No? It would leave such changes in the roster of candidates more in the hands of the Commission on Elections bilang regulator ng ating electoral process. So mas babawiin yung yung voluntary aspect on the part of us candidates.
So you agree with that?
Agree with
to
that.
remove the voluntary?
I would. Kaya wini-welcome ko rin yung direction taken by that bill filed by some of my colleagues in the Senate from the majority.
All right, let's talk about formally. The president seems to have taken a turn and is now telling senators you can imprison or even kill formally officials if it is proven that taxes weren't paid.
Heto na. Naku, itong si madam parang hindi na naman nag-iisip. Madam, hinahinay. Bulisan na kung wala kang tinatago dyan.
Well, he doesn't need to tell us that we can cause their imprisonment kasi talagang kapaki-pakinabang, Karen, yung mga investigasyon ng Senado pati ng Blue Ribbon Committee mismo. We've seen that in previous investigations even while the inquiries were going on. Our different law enforcement agencies were already using the findings and the future recommendations for their case build-up. But certainly the president not only doesn't need to, but should not be telling us or anyone else that anyone can kill anyone in the course of investigation. Talagang kailangan nating ibalik, Karen, yung rule of law. So at the outset, I welcome na finally, formally sounds, they rhyme. Finally, the president is stopping defending the formally officials. May he take a further step forward to stop defending his officials and his cronies na malamang sa hindi ay nakinabang din dito sa mga dubious transactions ng formally.
Totoo ba yan, madam? Kaya mo bang patunayan yan?
I mean, hindi maglalakas ng loob yung mga formally officials kung wala silang kasabwat sa kusina.
At nang tanungin ulit siya ni Madam Karen, nako, parang lalo ka lang napapahamak sa kasasagot kay Karen Davila, Madam Senadora.
But why do you think, Senator Risa, is the president taking this particular stand? Do you see this as a political move, or was it because of the revelations on non-payment of tax?
Well, yun yung ginamit niyang peg, di ba? To change his stance. Pero alam naman natin, halos lahat, kung hindi man lahat tungkol kay presidente, ay political talaga. I think he's really, speaking of kusina, he is feeling the heat. His cooks, or he himself, are getting their fingers singed. Hindi na lang yung DOH at yung PSDBM, formally nga mismo, pati yung kanyang dating Presidential Economic Advisor, Michael Yang, is not getting off the hook in the inquiries. Mas nga sumasabit yung bibig niya sa hook. So I think the president is shifting towards a damage control stance towards this unprecedentedly damaging formally case, damaging to his administration and maybe even to his political capital.
Itong sa gobyerno, people working in government have really work which is very crucial to governance, lalo na ngayon. So yung sila, gipit sa panahon at tinatawag, doon ako nag-object. Wala, sabi ko noon, right at the beginning, bahala kayo kung anong gawin nyo dyan sa formally na yan.
And given that the formally hearings are still ongoing, what for you is the most alarming in this supposedly anomalous transaction. Because so far, the latest is, while formally declared 7.2 billion pesos in total purchases, only 3.8 billion were reflected in their purchases.
Well, that is already one of the most alarming findings that has been emerging. Opaqueness, not transparency about documents, a paper trail that will really bear out the cost of goods sold. Tapos yung match dapat between purchases of a company and then the taxes they pay at different stages of their transactions with government. At hindi lang formally yung sumasabi dyan, Karen. The minority leader told the committee, and the documents I have would bear out his assertions na yung Suzhou Construction and Machinery Group is also guilty of tax evasion. So it doesn't pan out yung excuses ng Suzhou or even what the presidential spokesperson said na Kodak moment lang yan, selfie lang yan. Well, to that, all I can say, Karen, is yung mga Filipinong manufacturer natin who were not favored like Pharmally nor like Suzhou, ni hindi nakatuntong sa Malacanang, ni hindi nagkaroon ng ganong Kodak moment with the president.
Senator Risa, where do you think did the 3.4 billion peso difference go to? Where is it?
What we're all wondering, Karen, kung talagang siningil yan, for example, ng BIR in terms of taxes, so dapat nasa kanila na. Kung wala sa kanila, nasa PSDBM pa ba? Why is that so? Or if it is not in the hands of any government department or agency, we are still, left to wonder, did these go in the direction of bribes?
I'll say no to one of the promises that I made to the people is I will stop corruption in government. I cannot do it alone. You have to be aware of what I'm doing and you have to help me.
No? And if so, to whom? The not just mere whiff of corruption, but the stench of corruption still lies thick and heavy over this whole Pharmally story.
That the president is in the right track. Although success is still to be expected, yet when he pronounced that the demon is in us, then he is right, and I think he hit the nail on the head, because corruption is a behavioral problem.
And Senator Risa, you have a tax expert in the Senate,
Yes.
that is Attorney Mon Abrea. And based on the figures that was given, we know that Pharmally asked for tax credits, but based on his calculations, how much taxes would Pharmally owe based on 7.2 billion in total purchases?
Well, I'll have to get back to you on that, Karen, on the exact figure.
Yeah.
But Mr. Mon Abrea has been very instructive, illuminating to the Blue Ribbon Committee. And in fact, the BIR itself has started to benefit from his testimonies. Dahil sa mga ganyang testimonya on questioning of the members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, nag-amend na ng tax statement yung, I think it was... Tigerphil Marketing, one of the suppliers of Pharmally. So I presume that based on the calculations of Mr. Abrea, Pharmally itself will have to make good on its tax obligations to the government based on its alleged billions of pesos in sales. Then their tax obligation should amount to the tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. I will get back to you on that, Karen, on the exact figure of Mr. Abrea.
Now, what do you make, Senator Risa, of the resurfacing of Eduardo Asierto, now offering to testify versus the president, Michael Yang, out of the blue? Of course, he's a veteran anti-drug operative, but here he is, he's resurfaced after hiding for 3 years, and now claiming in this 10-minute video clip that there are drug connections with Michael Yang. Where do you think is this coming from?
Well, if those are true, then I suppose it could only be coming from Mr. Asierto standing by what he knows to be the truth. So it would appear that in the wake of VJ's retraction of his testimony, Ms. Magos not seeking the protective custody of the Senate and retracting her testimony, but both their testimonies are already of official record in the Blue Ribbon, and I would say in Philippine history. Now comes this next potential witness with a very long-standing testimony that he wants to make of record. So, wow, Karen, no? If the Blue Ribbon will take cognizance of his offer, if the chairman will call his offer, we could be seeing a real deepening and widening further of the findings of the inquiry.
So do you believe that Eduardo Asierto should be called and testify?
Well, I will leave it to my chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee to make that call, but certainly in the public imagination, they want to know, our people want to know whether those very, very serious, as yet unproven allegations and oft-denied allegations are true and have anything to do with this, malawakang graft and corruption sa limitadong pandemic funds in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay. And another thing here is there are those questioning the intention, the timing of Asierto coming out, and you yourself are facing a petition filed before the ombudsman, and I wanted to get an update on that. You have a formerly employee filing a case against you, claiming that one of your team members had actually bribed that witness into testifying against Farmally.
Yan na sinasabi ko, madam. Sige, paliwanag ka.
Well, unfortunately for them, Karen, we have all the resibo na witness ang unang lumapit sa office ko. Nag-post sa Facebook page ko. Kalauna nung hindi namin kaagad napansin yung mga posts niya, more than half a dozen, sa dami ng mga nagko-communicate din. He then emailed my official office email, almost a week later, making the same assertions na meron daw siyang alam tungkol sa Farmally. So,
Oo, totoo ba yan, madam? Sabagay, gumugulong na yung kaso dyan. Sana mapatunayan mong inosente ka dyan.
So yung sinasabi niya, unfortunately ngayon, na he was asking for medical assistance at hiningi daw namin yung work background niya at dun lang lumabas na taga-Farmally siya. I'm sorry, that is simply not true. Hindi rin totoo, and all our resibo will bear it out na pinilit namin siya, sinuhol namin siya to tell a lie. And finally, even the case that Farmally filed is, I'm sorry, laughable. Kailan ba naging sedition, no? Yung singilin yung accountability naming nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno. Kailan naging sedition yung to make sure that government, public funds from taxpayers are not wasted or worse, ginamit sa graft and corruption. And bakit sedition? Ang Farmally ba ang gobyerno? Sedition is a crime against government, Karen. But the last time I checked, Farmally is certainly not government. Isa siyang maliit, bago, undercapitalized na kumpanya which benefited from favoritism and apparent influence peddling. At ngayon, more and more, its officials are on the run.
Okay, and there's clearly basis coming from your team that the ombudsman should dismiss the case soon.
I really hope so, but I always respect the processes of our courts, including the Office of the Ombudsman. Handa akong harapin ang anumang akusasyon ng mga nag-aakusa in any court of law.
Yeah, and some people would think that a case like this would affect their candidacy. But in the latest SWS survey, this is October 21, based on total registered voters, you are actually ranking number 8 within the 12. And what do you make for that, Senator? I mean, clearly some would think this is an uphill climb for you, given that you are not with the administration. You've been hitting the administration relentlessly, and given the popularity of the president, some would fear that that would make a candidate slide down to out of 12. And you do have colleagues that are, based on this survey, not in the top 12, but they're incumbents.
Yes. Well, I'm grateful, Karen. Nagpapasalamat ako sa mga respondents na ganun yung lumabas na, well, reading of the public sentiment. I can only attribute it to inaalam ng ating publiko yung mga track record namin, the platforms that we will be putting forward. I've tried to remain faithful doon sa motto ko, lalo na these years, Karen, a healthy buhay at hanap buhay, even more urgent now, I believe, in the middle of a pandemic and a recession. So naghahanda talaga ako para sa kampanya at eleksyon. And I'll see everybody out there in the field. I'll just keep working hard, plugging away, and hopefully make a slow but sure advance para maialok ko ang serbisyo ko muli sa ating mga kababayan.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, while you're a consistent 8 to 10 in several areas, you're even a number 6 in Balance Luzon. But in Mindanao, you are number 11. What are you planning with your Mindanao campaign?
Well, patuloy na importante sa akin yung Mindanao, Karen, kasi bahagi ng ating bansa. I recently came back from a couple of visits to Mindanao sa Iligan, Cagayan de Oro, Pagadian, Llano del Norte, pati sa Surigao del Sur, Agusan del Norte, Butuan, to continue paying courtesy calls on our local government officials, lalo na bisperas ng implementation ng Mandanas ruling, which will be a signal shift for the LGUs, but posing a lot of challenges to them also. At saka syempre para ihatid yung aking Healthy Pinas mobile clinic, just to bring non-COVID medical services, additional of those services sa ating mga kababayan. So, I'm a Filipino, ang Mindanao bahagi ng ating bansa, and nananalig ako sa ating mga kababayan, whatever region we are in, na tayo bilang mamamayan, bilang botante, gusto nating malaman ang track record at plataforma ng mga magkakandidato.
But at the end of the day, Senator Risa, don't your numbers also prove that regardless of how popular an administration is, voters want an opposition in the Senate?
Yes, I do believe that, Karen. Na, excuse me.
Hindi pwede puro kakampi. Yan ang pinapatunayan ng survey.
I think so, na kahit sino sa atin naghahanap ng balanse, lalo na when these big cases like formally break out in the open and stink to high heavens, mas na-appreciate ng ating mga kababayan. Dapat talaga may checks and balances. Dapat talaga may separate and co-equal branches at bahagi ng ating political system. That can only work to the advantage not of admin only or opposition only, pero lahat ng ating mga kababayan. And I hope that is what we will see sa proseso at sa huli sa resulta nung sa Mayo 2022.
Well, it's Thursday today, and the IATF might come out with a statement or a decision regarding the use of mandatory face shields.
Yes.
Of course, the city of Manila has stood ahead and said it is not mandatory there. Malacanang says wait for the decision. What do you think, Senator?
Well, I think and I hope na sa wakas makinig na ang IATF, hindi lang sa common sense, no, pero yung expert opinion mula sa simula. Na, for example, I've always supported the expert's opinion na ang face shields kailangan ng ating mga healthcare workers at saka sa mga closed settings where there's close contact with the patients or the clients. Pero matagal nang sinasabi na this is not needed for the public at large in public spaces. So sana makinig na ang IATF and instead focus on what we really actually need, more testing, sustained and improved contact tracing and quarantine, plus better and better treatment, and of course, yung vaccination. Yun talaga yung package of 5 lifesavers sa ating mga kababayan in this pandemic.
But the DOH has also admitted that they are open to discussions on the recommendations for goggles as alternative to face shields.
Ay, Diyos ko, Karen, wag naman sana mauna pa ang IATF sa DOH. I mean, DOH is at part of the top leadership of that interagency task force. Manindigan na ang liderato ng DOH, manindigan na si Sec Duque kung hindi na nga kailangan yung face shield for ordinary citizens, non-healthcare workers like us. Ano naman ang ibibigay ng goggles? It will protect only the eyes, but out in the open air, that is hardly needed. Lalo lang magdududa tayo na there's something fishy going on pag nagpumilit pa. Kung wala ng face shield, ipinagpilit pa na may goggles. Tama na.
Okay, so palagay mo this something fishy, what would it be?
Yeah, well, kasi kung hindi naman talaga medically recommended yung face shields for all, so why was there that official policy for many months to keep on buying and selling that? And why would there be a last-ditch attempt to pitch for goggles? I mean, kung hindi motivated by public health, baka there's a lower motivation, something more pecuniary. Yun na nga yung nakikita natin sa Pharmally, di ba? Huwag nang ipagpumilit sa goggles na yan.
So it's a supplier motivation possibly.
Oo, baka mas push, mas supply driven kesa demand driven. Sa pandemya, ang demand dapat guided solely by public health reasons. And for that, we should listen to the public health experts at di sa mga tulad ng Pharmally o ng Shuzhou na syempre may pinupush na mga produkto.
Okay, let's talk about the budget briefly. Senator Sonny Angara, based on the discussions with the NTF-ELCAC, has slashed the budget of NTF-ELCAC unless it submits a detailed accounting. But Vice President Leni Robredo even opened up the possibility of removing the NTF-ELCAC because she said technically there's double purposes already when it comes to the budget for that kind of assistance given to local government units. Should the NTF-ELCAC be abolished, Senator?
If it is abolished, and I think a very good first step in terms of transparency and accountability is what Chair Sonny has done to ask for a detailed accounting. Kasi yan naman hinihingi sa lahat ng government departments and agencies. If it is even slashed or abolished, eventually, ang importante sa akin, lalo na in the 2022 budget, is that all the funds originally intended for NTF-ELCAC should go in line item budgets or in line items to the LGUs for which it was originally intended. Kasi naririnig ko, Karen, yung concern ng ating mga local government officials, mayors, even governors, that they need those funds. At syempre, ang feeling natin lagi, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So kung kumbaga kamay na ng NTF-ELCAC, syempre, naintindihan ko, ayaw bitawan ng ating mga local government officials. So if in the wake of this slashing, the demand for a detailed accounting, if it is even abolished, na hindi pa sigurado sa ngayon, dapat yung buong pondong iyon ay mapunta in line items to the LGUs originally intended, allegedly by the NTF-ELCAC, and in the programs that they have prioritized in their provinces, in their cities, even in their identified barangays.
Wait lang ma'am, may sakot dyan si Sir Alan Peter Cayetano. Ano na ba yun, sir?
So ako, I totally agree na hindi dapat bala ang sagot doon sa insurgency. Dapat talaga projects, programs, ayuda, etc. Now, should the military and the military network be the one to implement that, tignan natin yung mga debating parating dyan. But definitely, hindi dapat itigil yon. You have to also remember that yung komunista, meron din silang strategy pinitigil nila yung development sa ibang rural areas and then ire-recruit nila yung tao. Sasabihin mo, kita mo, kahirapan, walang ano dito. Sumali kayo sa movement namin. So may ganun nilalabanan yung military. So kung sasabihin natin sa NTF, LCAP na tigilan nyo yung projects dyan, we should also tell the CPP, NPA, tigilan nyo yung style nyo na titigilan nyo yung development doon. Pagka may kalye doon, susunugin nyo yung gamit ng contractor. Pagka gagawa ng release ng tren dyan, tatakutin nyo para hindi dumaan dyan, di ba? So the reality is, magkalaban ang Republic of the Philippines and the CPP, NPA.
Oh, eto pa ma'am. Kay Batangas Representative Rene Abu.
Yung mga pondo na napapapunta sa LCAP na binibigay ng proyekto sa mga tao, yan yung pumupuno sa iba pang mga hindi masagutan ng national government. Sa dami ng problema. Ang problema ng national government, ganitong kalaki sa ating tinutuluyan ngayon. Pero ang pondo lamang ay ganyang lamang kalaki sa isang round table na pagkakasay sa ganitong kalaking problema. At ang bawat departamento na nangangailangan tulad ng Department of Public Works and Highways, Department of Agriculture, meron sila na direct na dapat na puntahan ang pondo nila. So, yun ngayon na nagpupuno sa mga gaps ng mga line government agency natin na makasagot sa kung ano yung pangangailangan sa isang lugar na yun. Doon, alam naman natin na yung mga pondo yun ay doon inilalagay sa mga nakubkub o doon sa mga na-invest o doon sa mga nakuha ng CPP, NPA, NDF. So, ito yung kakulangan dito. Nagkukulang itong ibang line government agency, so kami ang papasok. Hindi bala ang ibinibigay ng gobyerno. Ang ibinibigay ng gobyerno ay kalinga, aruga, at pangangailangan doon. Kaya ito hindi dapat katakutan, hindi dapat iwasan, dapat dagdagan pa at pagpatuloy natin.
So, narinig mo yun ma'am? Hindi ba talaga magbabago ang pag-iisip mo dyan tungkol dito sa programa ng administrasyon?
So what would you want to see in the budget? What kind of budget would you want this to be?
I would really want this to be, Karen, a health-heavy and economic recovery-heavy budget. Kaya ngayon kasi, for example, ang DOH budget, nasa 4th highest lang siya. And last year, we pulled it up from 5th highest in the National Expenditure Program to finally 3rd highest in the General Appropriations Act. Ngayon, in the NEP, it's at 4th highest. Sabi ko, hindi pwede yan, that it would slide from 3rd highest this year to only 4th highest last year. It's still a pandemic year. So in principle, of course, we have to have education as the highest budgetary allocation per the Constitution. Pero in principle, dapat nga pangalawang pinakamataas yung health budget kasi pandemya pa rin. And in principle, dapat 3rd highest yung ating economic recovery for our economic departments and agencies dahil recession pa rin. So at the very least, lalaban talaga ako na 3rd priority pa rin ang DOH at dapat katumbas niyan o close behind that yung ating economic recovery budget.
Okay, my last question is the President has approved the 3-day national vaccination program. What would you want to see in the implementation of?
I fully support that last-ditch effort of government, Karen, at naipakita nila na on one day, they hit the 1 million vaccination mark. It's just sad na it's taken this long to have that sense of urgency, that scale, pero sige, better late than never. May nasayang na rin kasing more than 12,000 doses of precious vaccines worth almost 7 million pesos. Wag na nating dagdagan ang pagkasayang. And let's learn from the best practices models of the past, Karen, yung vaccination programs ng the late great Secretary, then Secretary, and later Senator Juan Flavier, to really increase vaccine confidence, to extend these vaccination programs to our GIDA, or geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, into all Filipino homes. So sana maitaas natin ang vaccination coverage beyond the current 70% in NCR and only 30% outside NCR. Itaas natin yung vaccination coverage natin, Karen, bago magpasko, towards that true herd immunity we've been pushing for from the start.
Ayos, madam Parang sa pagkakaunawa ko, umaayon ka pero hanep sa badang huli, humirit ka pa rin. Well, madam, sana kung ano yan pinaglalaban mo, sana may matibay kang ebidensya. Alam mo naman, kaya malakas si Tatay Digong dahil ramdam ng bawat Pilipino na meron siyang presidente na inisip ang magandang kinabukasan ng mamamayan. Well, mga kasangga, alam na dis, kayo, ano sa palagay nyo? Baka naman, pwede nang mag-share, mag-like, mag-comment. Diyos tiyagina po. Hanggang sa muli.